Wow, that's really blown out. Today is day 5 of our Maladaptive Daydreaming inspired Inktober prompt list. And today's prompt is home. And damn it, this one's even harder than the last one. So I'm a grown up now, mostly. And I have my own home. But I think when you hear the word home, a lot of people still think of their childhood homes. That's a little hard for me too because I moved a lot as a child. But I think if I had to pick, if somebody asked me what the house I grew up in was like, and I had to choose just one, I think I know which one I would choose. So we spent a few years here, formative years. So it's the one that kind of sticks out for me. And I think most people kind of have that special place in their house, especially maladaptive daydreamers who have, that one spot where they can just be alone to daydream. And I'm going to guess that it's usually a bedroom. Oh, Moreau, come on, man. That's where you're going to sit? It was definitely a bedroom for me at any rate because I am not a pacer or a mover. I'm a pretend to sleeper. So most of my youth was actually spent in bed. So much of it, in fact, that my parents took me to get tested for anemia because they thought there was something physically wrong with me. And I think I kind of just realized why I might not be a mover. If you noticed, I'm drawing a bunk bed. And in fact, not just a bunk bed, but there was also a bed here. This is so bad. There we go. It's like side. I skipped perspective day in high school. Yes, I shared a room with not one, but 2 sisters. In addition to that, we had 1, 2, 3 walls. This was not a wall. This was an iron fence because our room was directly at the top of a spiral staircase over here. The railing was all around it here and then back toward the bathroom. The entire opening was fenced in. So yeah, 3 girls, 3 walls. Privacy wasn't really a thing. It's weird. I never noticed that before I started drawing this picture. I guess because we moved so much, I never really thought about it. That's the weird thing about MD. Like, I've known about it for years, been part of the community, and talked to other maladaptive daydreamers, tons of them. Read everything that I could get my hands on, and still, to this day, literally to this day, I'm still realizing the most random things about it. That's crazy. Yeah, so I just spent a lot of time in my bedroom, in my bed. Not that I was a completely inactive child or anything. I actually had a pretty decent childhood, and I did have a lot of fun in this house. We had a great friend right down the street whose house we would walk to all the time. We had a giant field out back with a pond and a huge wild blueberry patch. We had an awesome dog, tons of woods. We used to go build forts, build fires. I took my dad's socks once down to this bend in the road where the water collected because there were just thousands of frogs. And we filled his socks with frogs and then brought them all back to the house, put them in a big kiddie pool. So it's not that I didn't have any kind of normal childhood. It's just that there was also this. And I'm not sure if it was maladaptive during these years. It certainly was after these years. Maybe this was the turning point, or maybe not. I really don't know. It's, subtle, sneaks up on you. But I've definitely always been a bit more of a homebody. Window here, lilac bush. This doesn't look like a lilac bush, but that's okay. A big wooden door to the outside with one of those old fashioned handles. We were on the 2nd floor, and this opened out to a rickety staircase. We weren't actually allowed on the staircase because it was dangerous, but we did often go hang out on the little landing at the top. And here there was some kind of table thing. I don't think it wasn't really a table. I think it had wheels. I don't think they worked. I think they were broken, but some sort of cheap plywood shelving unit thing. But the thing about that was that on top, our dad had given us this behemoth of a radio. And it wasn't just a radio, it had like a plastic top that opened to a record player. And it had an 8-track deck and, of course, a little radio with all the knobs and things. But I must sound so old talking about 8-tracks and record players. I am kind of old, but I'm not that old. At this age, this is when CDs were starting to be a thing. Like, if you had a CD player at school, you were one of the cool kids. They weren't like a everyone has them thing yet, but they were ubiquitous enough to be in the hands of children. And there was a skinny door, creepy skinny door right here that opened to a little closet. And inside the closet, which I did not think ahead and drew closed, were all the records and 8-tracks that my dad gave me. I think this is where music really took off for me. Because I would just play over and over the Beatles' greatest hits on 8-track and Meatloaf's Bad Outta Hell and the Cars. I had a record of the Cars. Those three over and over again. The Beatles, the Cars, Meatloaf. There's also a thing built into the wall over here. It was like a cupboard. It was actually huge, and when me and my sisters would get pissed at each other, we'd pad it out with blankets and sleep in the cupboard. We each had our own chest. I don't remember where my sister's chests were. Mine was over here. That's not fat enough. I caught a rat one time, a baby rat, and my dad wouldn't let me keep it. So I emptied out my chest and I put the rat in there, hoping to secretly keep it as a pet. Chewed a hole right through the bottom. Sneaky little. This is like what my 3rd grader niece would draw. And you know what? I'm cool with it. So I don't know. This is, it's a formative childhood bedroom. But I'm not really sure I could call it a home. Like I said, we moved a lot. And I knew that no place was going to be our home for long. It was just until we got our next apartment or until we could finally afford a house or something like that. And even now that I'm grown up, I want to settle. But what we have now, even now, is a starter home. Even at 35, this is not where I'm going to be long term. And even though I would say I had, a pretty good childhood, I mean, we were poor, 3 girls to a room and secret rat pets, hand-me-down 8-track tapes. But it was good, But even so, there's a sense of stability that isn't there, that could never be there. But my daydreams, I guess, were always stable, like yesterday. They were the constant companion. My dad actually built this bunk bed. It's not missing a ladder. He never made one. Now, I don't think that this moving around is why I started daydreaming like this. I've been daydreaming for literally as long as I can remember. Before we had moved 1,000 times, I was already doing it. But it might be part of what contributed to it eventually becoming a maladaptive thing for me. And that's where we're gonna leave that. Put what home means to you in regards to maladaptive daydreaming down in the comments. Cat, I swear to God. Or better yet, draw yourself a doodle. Tag it Maddtober and send Dr. Levi some love. See you tomorrow.